University of Houston, the Cougars are next. They are the third seed here. They are the American Athletic Conference regular season champions. Advanced here from Tulsa, where they defeated Georgia State and Ohio State. They'll play number 2, Kentucky, in tomorrow night's second game. The head coach to my right is Kelvin Sampson. The men's basketball contact is Jeff Conrad. We're going to ask Kelvin to start off with a statement on his team about being here in Kansas City, and then we'll go to questions. Coach, please.
Yeah, a really fun team to coach. There's sometimes you have an inkling. Oftentimes that inkling is wrong, but you have an inkling that you might have a pretty good team. You know, we lost so much from last year's team that that spurred us into June and July when we're allowed to work with those kids 4 hours a week. You know, we really focused on 3 or 4 things that we value. So when the season started, I knew we were further ahead defensively than we were offensively because we didn't get Giroux. Giroux didn't play for us until mid-December, and Fabian White didn't play until the first week in December. But we played BYU at BYU in late November. And at one point, I think we're up 18-16 on the road. And I could tell that team's got a chance to be pretty good. BYU, was really good offensively. And early in the season, good teams don't know they're good, and bad teams don't know they're bad. Everybody's the same same as early in the season. But that was a road game at Provo with basically a new team. I didn't know how they would react. I wasn't nervous or worried about that game. I was anxious. I wanted to see how we would play on the road. And that's when you know whether you have a good team or not. It's not at home. It's how you play on the road. And then the thing I was most proud of with this team was not being 16-2 in your conference, especially a conference as hard as ours is outstanding. But being 8-1 on the road, that was how I valued this team and how I evaluated it. Was that we just became a really good team as the season progressed, and we learned how to play with each other. And that's a tribute to Galen and Corey, Breon, our seniors, and their ability to lead every day in practice and teach these young guys how to practice.
First question's on the aisle, then we'll come down to Dick Weiss here. Go, please.
Jerry Tipton, Lexington Herald Leader. Coach, I'm wondering how the big question with Kentucky's P.J. Washington's availability, I'm wondering what you expect there and how that factors in your planning.
Yeah, well, we've never seen Kentucky play with him or without him. You know, we've never seen him play except on film. So all the film we're watching is him with him. So I haven't watched him without him. So that doesn't factor in with us at all.
Hey, Kelvin, how are you?
What do you say, Hoops Weiss?
Talk to me a little bit about Corey. And when you first got him from San Jac, did you know he was this complete a player?
The old "did you know" question. Did you know? When you get older, you hear questions like that, you just want to go, you know what? We just pulled his name out of a hat. I'm just joking, Hoops. I'm just being bad. Here's what I knew. I knew he was a competitor. I knew he was a tough nut. He was a shot maker. He had to develop. We have to develop kids. That is I think the most important part of our program is our player development. And our assistant coaches are really, really good at that. But Corey had to be developed. It's ball handling versus pressure. He had to develop a dribble game. He was a good catch and shoot guy, but he didn't have much of a dribble game. But you start with the first thing we talked about, how tough he is and what a great kid he is. Unbelievable competitor every day. You know, high character kids really don't have highs and lows. They're pretty solid every day, and that's what he is.
Kelvin.
What is your response to your name being linked to the Arkansas job? And has UH offered you a contract extension?
Well, I'm not going to talk about my contract situation. And my response to, what school was it? I was just joking. I don't know if you said Arizona or Arkansas or Alaska or yes. There's been a lot of those schools over the years. I don't really have a response to it. I don't know what I'm supposed to respond to. There's nothing to respond to.
Okay, next question's here. We have about 5 or 6 up, so we'll go here first.
Calvin, I'm Mark Story from the Lexington Herald-Leader. I've read some comments from Tubby Smith, just talking about what a good coaching job you've done. And I know you guys go way back. What has that relationship meant to you in your career and your life?
I first got to know Tubby when I was 21, 22 years old. I was doing my student teaching in the fall of my senior year in college. And the school that I was doing my student teaching at was Up Church Junior High School. And Tubby was the head basketball coach at Rayford High School. It's in Hoke County, North Carolina. I was born and raised in a real small town called Pembroke, and Rayford's about 20 miles. But I knew who Tubby was. I didn't know him, though. Anytime something of significance happens in my life, there's 2 people that either call or text me right away. One is Tubby, and the other is Rick Barnes. Rick was at Lenore Ryan College when I was at UNC Pembroke. I think Rick was a sophomore when I was a freshman. Tubby was out of college when I started college, but he's one of my best friends. My father used to say, if you have one friend in your life, you're a rich man. Well, I've got a bunch, but none that's closer to me than Tubby or Rick.
Hey, Kelvin, Jeff Goodman with Stadium. What's this ride been like for you? This is, I think, the first time you've been back to the Sweet 16 since '03 with Oklahoma. What's it like being up here?
Well, it's hard to get to the Sweet 16 when you're in the NBA. You can get to the second round of playoffs. But I loved the NBA. I really did. I was talking with Ian Eagle and Jim Spanarco. They do the Brooklyn Nets games. I always saw them when we'd go to the Barclays or East Rutherford, wherever we were. You go to this tournament so much, but you learn never to take it for granted. And I don't. This is hard to make the tournament. I think being at this stage now, looking back, and I look at guys like Mick Cronin at Cincinnati, what he's going through a little bit of right now. When you're really good, you become a little bit a victim of your success. Because people have to compare it to something. Mick Cronin is not a good coach now. He is a great coach. He is a great coach. Hardest team we play every year is always Cincinnati. But he loses to Iowa. Game he could have easily won. And he had won that game. Who was the next game? Who did Iowa lose to? Yeah, Tennessee. Could have won that game. But you got to be good that day. There's so much winning and losing is so opinionated. It depends on which side of the fence you're on, I guess. But I just hate to see coaches evaluated on whether they win their first game and not celebrated for making it. It's no big deal anymore to make the tournament if you've made it a lot. You're almost better off going 3 or 4 years without making it. Then when you make it, wow, that's a great job of rebuilding. But it is. You take it for granted if you're a fan. Sometimes administrators do. It's hard to make this tournament. You look at all the great programs that haven't made it the last 2 years, 4 years, 5 years. You wonder why. Because it's not easy. It's a grind. You know, every conference is hard. I don't know how you evaluate a conference. You know, I've coached in some great conferences. I couldn't tell you the difference in one versus the other. They're all the same. At the top, they're the same. The middle and the bottom, they all have those three things going for them. Central Florida was one of the best teams we played this year. We played LSU, Oregon. Central Florida is really good. You know, from a perception standpoint, unfortunately, people didn't realize how good they were, not when they played us, but when they played Duke. Then people gave them credit for that. You know, but that's just the way people perceive things. So I have a lot of respect for the schools that make this tournament, but I also have a lot of respect for the schools that came up a little short.
We're here, then we're over to Blair. Go.
Hi, Calvin. John Huang, NOLA Media. John Calipari has really been singing your praises this week. He's probably trying to just butter you up. We all know that. But what
Are you saying he wasn't sincere?
What
I mean, you had me going, and you brought me down. Holy smokes.
he talks about you like your
So
long
he's
lost
singing
brothers.
your praises, but he didn't really mean it.
What exactly is your relationship with him, and what is the biggest challenge in playing against a John Calipari coach team?
Well, John Calipari reminds me of a good hit, no-field shortstop. You guys remember Mark Belanger that used to play with the Orioles? I'm a baseball nut. But let's say he had 5 or 6 years where he hit between 275 and 290. No matter what, he's going to be good hit, no field. You know, John Calipari will never get the credit from a lot of people for being a great coach. You know, I didn't see Kentucky. That's not true. I saw him play Tennessee on I can't remember if that was College Game Day or not. But it was a Saturday night, and we must have played in the afternoon. But I did watch that game, and I was amazed at how good Kentucky was, because I knew how good Tennessee was, and the game wasn't even close. But I didn't really start looking at him until after the Ohio State game, and we started. That was a Sunday game, I think. So Monday, I started looking at him. Tuesday, good plan. They've got a really good plan. That's when you can tell how good the influence of the coach is their plan. We watched a little bit of the Wofford tape, so I wanted to see Hero without Washington. Plays him like any other coach would. Hero's really good at running in and out of screens, high basketball IQ kid. You know, their players, the blocks they play on, he plays them to their strength. Hagen's understands how to run that offense that they run. They get the ball to the right spots, and they're really good on defense. They've got a great plan. So John's an excellent coach. Cal's a really good coach. Our relationship goes back a long time. He's actually myself, Tubby, Rick, and Cal all played in the same conference at one time. Good old NAI District 26 back in North Carolina. Different times. We're all Tubby's kind of our mentor a little bit. He's a little bit older, but Cal was at UNC Wilmington when he was at NAI school. Rick was at Lenore Ryan. I was at Pembroke. So we all came from kind of the same foundation, if you will. You know, small college kids that kind of grew up. John's always been really smart. Knows what he wants and knows how to get it. So I've always admired John and have a lot of respect for everything he does.
We're going to take 4 more questions that are up right now. 1 here, 2, 3, and 4 on the aisle. Go.
Hi, Kelvin. Blair Kirkhoff with the Kansas City Star.
Hey, Blair.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
And speaking of background, I don't know if I've ever asked you this, but what was it like going from a guard at Pembroke to a graduate assistant at the program that had just won the highest profile college basketball game of all time?
Well, your first instinct is to ask for autographs. You know, I didn't know Magic was Magic then. I just everybody either called him Irvin or EJ. And Judd was, I was afraid of him. I mean, I was so intimidated by that man. And I was in over my head. You know, I'm a small town kid. Dad was a high school coach. Mother was a nurse. I had a twin sister, older sister, younger sister. Just lived like anybody else. But then all of a sudden I go from an NAI school to Michigan State. I remember in one of my first, I can't remember if it was a kinesiology or physiology class, they made everybody stand up and say where you're from, what college you're from. And this was a night class, and kids were saying Notre Dame, it's undergrad, right? They're all graduate students. Some kids were saying Notre Dame, Boston College, Michigan, Michigan State, a lot of Michigan State. Different undergrads in the Big Ten. And I stand up and I say, Pembroke State. Nobody looked at the other guys. They all looked at me. Where's this guy from? Pembroke State, what is that? So, that's just, but I was in awe of the whole thing. I got lucky in that Judd liked me, and he always did. Up until when Judd died, I don't think there was a month he and I ever didn't talk. You know, when he retired and he moved to Spokane, which was one of the classist things you could do, he would call me and say, Kel, good news, bad news. Good news is I saw your game last night. Bad news is I saw your game last night. Who is recruiting your guards? That's Judd. But I can give you a ton of those things. But whether it's Tom Izzo or Mike Dean, those, you know, he's had such an impact on so many guys' lives. But that's what Michigan State meant for me. Was biggest thing was the first two jobs I got was because of Judd. He got me both jobs. Assistant at Montana Tech and the head coaching job at Washington State. Because Judd, his first year out of high school, the first college he went to was Montana Tech. And until Judd died, he always gave them $1,000 a year for their booster club. That's the way he was, every year. He wrote a check for $1,000. And then Washington State, he graduated from Washington State. An assistant there for Marv Harshman. So when they had the guy that I was working for left to go to Nevada Reno because he thought he could get to the tournament easier, and he was right. You know, Washington State was the toughest job in the Pac-10 at the time. And then Judd just called him and told him who to hire. So that was Judd. That was the impact he had on me.
Kelvin, your experience taking teams deep into the tournament has great value. How about your veteran guys who have been in this tournament now playing with success the last 2 years? How does that increase the value?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if my experience necessarily helps. You know, these are all big games. You know, every team here plays big games. You know, we had to play at Cincinnati on senior night. That's a big game. At Oklahoma State, at LSU, at BYU. We played LSU at home. But, you know, you play so many big games during the course of the year. These are magnified because of this. And when the kids walk in, they see everything. But I think when the game starts, I think the culture that you've built in your program, if it's strong culture, if it's strong enough, those kids will lean on that. That becomes who our team is, who our program is, and ultimately it becomes who they are. But Galen and Corey, their leadership is critical to this team. We wouldn't have the success we have if it were not for Corey and Galen's leadership. Our team, we're all blessed to have those two kids.
In the back.
Todd Lebo, Sports Radio 810 here in Kansas City. You mentioned you were out of the game for a while in the NBA. Since you've come back, have you seen any differences in the game? There's a bunch of this stuff going on, the FBI investigations and shoe things. And has that stuff changed? Was that stuff going on back when you were there, or is it just people seeing the underbelly of the game?
Well, whether it was going on or not, we'd be all naive to think it was not. The difference is wiretaps. What if they didn't have the wiretaps now? Would we know? That's. I'm assuming that stuff's been going on. You hear about it. The game will survive, obviously, in time, but it certainly puts a tarnish on it.
Final question right here.
Kelvin, your defensive numbers are really, really good. I'm wondering, why is that? What elements go into that? How well are you guys defending?
Well, we certainly work at it. And just because you work at it doesn't mean you're going to be good at it. Everything that we do in our program, we don't have a great offensive team. Last year last year's team was better offensively, and last year's team was ranked in the top 12 or 13 in the nation defensively too, defensive field goal efficiency. I'm not sure where this team is ranked. I'm assuming very similar. This team blocks shots a little better, a little bit longer, a little more athletic, off the bench. None of our guys' individual numbers will look good. I think our leading rebounders are 6'3" guard. But don't get fooled by that. None of our guys play. Our best rebounders some nights only play 5 minutes, only play 8 minutes. Like Georgia State the other night, the way they played, 5 guys were behind the three-point line. Well, you've taken away 2 guys' playing time. Chris Harris and Bryson Gresham. Chris is 6'10", about 250, and Bryson's about 6'9", 230. They're better playing the guys that post up. They don't guard 5s that play behind the three-point line. So I think our aggregate numbers will be good rebounding. We're a good rebounding team. We're a good defensive team. Defense is just guarding a series of actions. What actions are we guarding? Is it a pick and roll team? Is it a pin down team or a screen down team? Are they a motion team? What is their primary offense? Your kids' ability to stay disciplined during the course of whatever action it is of the shot clock. We really work at that. And my assistant coaches do a great job. I can't tell you how great my staff is. Our kids are well prepared because my staff does a great job of being prepared for them. So it's a combination of a lot of things.
Thank you, Coach. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Student athletes of the Houston Cougars are up next. Corey Davis Jr., Galen Robinson Jr. We will go straight to questions for the 3rd seed in the Midwest Regional. Start right there on the aisle. Katie, thank you.
Eric Olson with the Associated Press. Corey, you've had an interesting journey to get to this point with some injury early in your career, and I understand that you thought about actually quitting the game at one point. Could you just kind of discuss what this means to get to the Sweet 16 here after what you've been through?
Honestly, it just means everything. I mean, just how hard I worked to get here, everything I've been through to get here. I feel like the process that I took, I mean, it just led me to this point. I mean, I went through everything for a reason, and I'm just blessed to be here, honestly.
Stay there. Yep.
For either of you, have any of the guys from Phi Slamma Jamma talked to you guys at all this season? Has there been much contact there?
Galen, please.
They came to a lot of the home games, and they'll say some quick. I remember Clyde Drexler told me I need to get some meat on my bones, but I remember that. But for the most part, it's just friendly conversation.
2 right here, Katie. 1, 2.
Aaron Mittis from WDRB in Louisville. Just curious how you guys are preparing for Kentucky with P.J. Washington or without, and how you're going about that.
Corey, you're first, then Galen.
Honestly, we're scouting him as a whole. I mean, if PJ plays, I mean, we know his tendencies. We know what he likes to do as an individual. So I mean, it doesn't really affect our game plan much. We're just focusing on their team as a whole and what we're gonna do.
We're definitely anticipating that he's playing, so we're preparing like he's a starting 4-man.
Hi, guys. John Huang, NOLA Media. Follow up to that question. As competitors, you guys probably do hope that he plays, right?
Galen?
What
do you think?
Me personally, it don't matter. We still have to play Kentucky. We still have to try our hardest to win a basketball game. And if he plays, same treatment.
Corey, what do you think? You want him to play?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, as a basketball player, you don't really want to be playing a team that's not at their full health. I mean, give them any ammunition if they do lose to have a reason that you beat them or whatever. But I mean, if they have a full team, that just makes it more fun. I mean, just more entertaining.
Hi guys, Tyler Thompson, Kentucky Sports Radio. One of your teammates I spoke to said that your coach is telling you have to be 8 points better than Kentucky to win. I was hoping you could expand on that.
Corey?
Honestly, what he basically meant, we just have to play with a chip on our shoulder. I mean, at the end of the day, we know we're coming in this game as underdogs, so we have to play like our lives depending on it, basically is what he's trying to say. I mean, we have a lot we're playing for. We just love this group that we're with, so I mean, we just all have to come in and just buy into the entire game for 40 minutes.
And to piggyback on what he said, I think he related that to the adversity we're going to face. They're definitely going to have more fans than us here. Everything's going to be, we're definitely the underdogs, so we just definitely have to have a chip on our shoulder and just play with our hearts.
Anything else for the gentleman from Houston? Okay, thank you very much. Best of luck tomorrow. Kentucky Wildcats up here at 2:05. We have Reed Travis and Keldon Johnson scheduled. Yeah, I got 2 for sure and then a question. Right. So I'll check and see. I got them marked down. Right, thank you.